Hello, friends, and welcome to my channel. I am Jennifer of scrapsoflife.com, and today is September 2nd, Saturday, and this is our creative week. Oh, have you been? It's been 2 weeks since my last update. That sounded like the introduction at an AA meeting. Sorry. But yeah, I know I missed last week's update. Yeah, life life got in the way, and then there was that whole hurricane. Actually, I was going to record it on Tuesday, like I had previously, and Tuesday ended up becoming bread baking day, and after all that, I just didn't feel like getting on camera. And then there was the whole hurricane thing. Um, we we ended up not being in the direct path of the hurricane. We were on the we just got like some of the very northwest-ish edges of it because it shifted and went in at like Cedar Key and Perry in Florida. And I feel so bad for those communities. Wherever you are, I hope you are okay. I know Tallahassee, which again, had it not shifted, Tallahassee would have gotten quite a bit of it, and therefore we might have as well. I know there was a lot of power outages in Tallahassee. We actually lost power here a little after 9 a.m. on Wednesday, and it came back a little after 5 p.m. So it was a very quiet day, strangely quiet, just the sound of chainsaws in the distance. I ended up reading a book for working through a book for book club next week that had previously, well, it's still a little snoozeworthy. It's not that the book is bad, the writing is beautiful. It's just very slow pace, and it kind of, at first it was boring. At first it was just I could not get into it, and it would send me to dreamland very quickly. And now it still lulls me to sleep. I don't know if it's like, okay, this book is now associated with sleep, or if it's the cadence of the prose, or whatever it is. I got through a good part of it on Wednesday, like two-thirds of the book, and it's like 380 pages or something. And yeah, it's a physical book, which is another challenge for me because I'm so used to digital now. But um but yeah, I did take a few naps in that too. Of course, granted, power was out. There wasn't much else for me to do. Because it was still, the weather was still wonky. So yeah. It's been interesting. But that's not to say that just because there was no update was that there was nothing to update. And I've been keeping a little busy. First up, let me show you how things are looking with Dewey, the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle. You can see he's, if I kind of rotate him bits, you can see he's got some dimension in him. So each of his scoots are now stuffed and then stitched down. I'll show you the back of the canvas. So yeah, I'm quilting directly onto the stretched canvas. And then some more will be done for the rim of his carapace, and then his flippers as well. I think I'd showed you the painting of his face before. If not, if that would have been one of the missing updates, then you can see that now too. But yeah, he's coming along, and one of the things that really helped was this massive needle. This is called a doll needle. It is, well, I mean, it's about as long as my hand is almost. And what I discovered really was that it helped me maneuver my stitching without hurting my hands as much. So, yes, that was a very good thing. Um let's see. I believe I mentioned. Oh, it's right on the arm of my chair. I was looking around for it, and I'm like, oh no, I put it at easy glance. I think I mentioned the last update that I'd made a cute little skirt, but I'd left it upstairs, so I couldn't show you. Well, I brought it downstairs so you could see. It is this was a piece of fabric that I found at Goodwill, like just plain yard goods, not something that I remade. Um, it's a polyester. It's just, but it's very soft and floaty, and I liked the pattern. Again, it's showing up more peachy on my screen right now, but it is pinks with like little pops of teal and green. And I just thought this would be very cute and lightweight for our never-ending summer here, but also when I go on the cruise in November. And it's a little bit longer in the back than it is in the front because your girl's got some junk in the trunk. So, and is doesn't like it when her skirts tend to ride up a little bit farther in the back. So that was an experiment. And this is the Sienna, or a version, a hacked version of the Sienna skirt from Made for Mermaids. So that was something I had done. And then, haha, ta-da! Um, I've been updating time and time again the progress on the sampler shawl. And look at this, y'all. It's finished, except for the weaving in ends. I still have to weave in the ends. But I blocked it yesterday. I just did a simple, I pinned it dry and then sprayed it with water to set it basically. Because some of these stitches, especially like the things that where there's raised stitches or there's cables, um, you don't want to block it too aggressively, otherwise you'll lose the texture. Um, but the ends themselves, so the borders, the garter stitch borders definitely needed blocking because they liked to turn in on themselves. They sort of still do. I could have been a little more aggressive with those. But the applied border with all the beads on it wanted to just curl up. So that I definitely had to block. And now it's looking very, very pretty. Um, I think I don't know if I mentioned this or not because I don't know where that this like, this bit of creative problem solving occurred, but the instructions for applying the beads in this pattern, there's two ways to knit with beads. One is you string them on the yarn to begin with, or the thread, or whatever you're working with, and then move them into place between the stitches, essentially. Um, and then the other, which this book preferred, is you use a very tiny, thin crochet hook with like a couple millimeter, like a millimeter point or something. So you can like put the bead onto the crochet hook, hook the stitch, the active stitch, flip the stitch through the bead, and then work that stitch, knit, purl, whatever. Um, the book preferred that version, which was fine when it was just a few beads in this center panel, um, you know, but when there's 20 beads per point on the edging and this border, and there's a total of 30 of these little triangular points, um, it was taking me a full 45 minutes to do a single point. I was like, and it just it was not, there was not a good flow because you have to pick up the tool, pick up the bead, do the hokey pokey, and then do a stitch or two, do it again, and there was no flow. And to the point where I did the first one and I was like, okay, I'm done with that for a little bit. And then the next time I picked it up, I did another one and I'm like, oh gosh, this is tedious. And I am not good with tedious knitting or tedious crochet or things like that. I want to be able to flow through it. So I decided that even though it was And this is the first time in this entire project, the first time, and if y'all know me, you know that I I often go a little off book because, well, gosh darn it, sometimes I just it, I often go a little off book. It's difficult for me to do something exactly as written. But I usually have a good reason for it. And in this case, I decided I had a very good reason for it. And so I broke the yarn and added some beads to the yarn so that, pre-strung them so that I could try a point just by sliding the beads into place. And it shaved 10 minutes off of the amount of time per point at that point. But bump. I know. How many times can I say point in this one part? Um, but it flowed so much better. There was not a lot of back and forth. There was not a lot of fiddliness. So I'm like, okay, saving me 10 minutes and feeling like it flowed better, huge improvement. I was like, oh yeah, now this is fun. This is fun again. And if you're not having fun, why are you doing it? This is not work. This is not homework. I'm not paid to do this. I am doing this for my own enjoyment and edification. If it's tedious and soul crushing, I wouldn't go quite so far as to say soul crushing, but if it's tedious and you don't want to do it, then that's destined for the UFO pile. And I'm like, I am so close to having this done. Wow, that got a little whiny. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I was like, okay, but now I had slipped the bead before the bead stitch, and I'm like, well, it does look a little different. I could find. Let's see. This is well, you know what? Now that they are blocked, it doesn't actually look that much different. I don't think. Yeah, no. Now that they're blocked, I don't unless I'm looking at the wrong end. Am I looking at the wrong end? I might be looking at the wrong end. Okay. Let's go back. Yeah, there's a slight difference. Let's see if it's noticeable. So the first one or two here, I don't even think you'd be able to tell from here. Certainly not as someone's wearing it. If I were getting graded on this, that's a different thing, but I'm not. But I did play around with like, okay, should I slip the bead before the bead stitch? Or after, kind of, and so I did play around with that a little bit, and then I decided that it looked better just to do it before, because then it ends up in the spaces created by the yarn overs. And basically, I just thought it looked better, it flowed easier, and that's what we went for. It wasn't getting like tangled up in the yarn over from the previous row kind of thing. Anyway, I flew through. I stopped timing them because it wasn't important anymore. Yeah, if I'm tracking how long something takes to do, it's probably because I'm disliking it heartily. Yeah. And I only knew that one took me 45 minutes because we were watching an episode of something that was 45 minutes and it took me the entire episode. So it wasn't that was more of a, oh my gosh, it has taken me 45 minutes, an accidental timing thing that then I started paying attention. But yeah, so anyway, I flew through the rest of that border and I was like looking forward to it because it was fun. And yeah, so I'm really happy that this is finished now, except for weaving in all the ends because every time I changed color, or changed yarn, there's ends to weave in, and I'll do that. But I'm so happy about that. So since that was blocking yesterday, I didn't have anything to do. I don't have a new project started yet, or designated yet. I've been like playing around with which project I'm going to bring with me when I go to Arizona next month. But I was like, oh, hey, I have my cross stitch that I haven't messed with since the last Arizona trip. And actually, I think this pattern that I'm working on, it's the Sun card from Innocent Bones. Um, I think I actually started this 2 Arizona trips ago, but just was more into what I was crocheting or knitting at the time. So I didn't work on it as much. But so I pulled that out last night, and I did the black border and the lettering, and also the last few rows here above the lettering panel and the little two suns. So I got a little bit of work done on that, and that felt good. Felt good to be doing just something relaxing. And then let's see. And then for the Twitch stream on Friday, because Dewey is in a little bit of a spot where I'm, the parts I have to do next are going to be kind of wonky and maybe not great for streaming. I pulled out this little room box kit I bought ages ago. I did okay, so the one I'm doing is this pink loft right here. Very cute. Oh, well, you can see that. Um, but I'd started making like the little sofa. Um, this right here. And that's like, I hadn't even finished that. And then I left it on my work desk for a while. And then I needed to clear the work desk for another project. And so I'd had it put away for a good long while. So I decided to work on that. And so I made some, just kind of working through the little booklet that comes with it. And let me show you one of my favorite parts of it. This little, well, it's acrylic, or acetate, but it's this little coffee table with a little picture and flowers, a magazine on it, and it is so darling. It was my favorite part of that. Second favorite was this little bookcase, with some little tchotchkes, books and stuff on it. But it was a fun way to spend what ended up being like 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours, and what there was to show is contained in these two little baggies. But that's miniatures for you. Lots of small little fiddly parts, lots of cutting out, lots of fussing with bits and pieces. Um, but I had a great time, and it was nice and relaxing to work on that. Well, mostly it was relaxing. I did run into a snag towards the end. But anyway, it was nice and relaxing to be able to just like work on that and then chat with the folks that stopped by. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good solution. And speaking of solutions, so I have um, another sewing project from Made for Mermaids that I'm working on. The pattern is back here. Um, I don't have a picture of it to show you, but it's the April dress. And I also want to do that for the cruise. Um, and just general wear. Basically, I'm a bit dissatisfied with my wardrobe options at the moment, and I have a ton of clothes, but I don't want to wear most of them right now. And of course, it doesn't help that a lot of them are still geared towards when I wore long sleeves a lot or sweaters a lot, and it's just too freaking hot. And my internal temperature, my internal thermostat tends to run hotter these days. So, yeah. So I've got that, but then I also have two vintage patterns that I'm wanting to do, especially for the cruise, but also in general. You'll see why this one is cruise specific when I show you the picture. Look at this. Look at this. These are vintage patterns from Mrs. Depew. And yeah, this little sailor suit, like play suit or halter and shorts with the little skirt that goes over it. Yeah. Um I just thought that was adorable. And so, I mean, I just had to try it. And then this is a similar outfit. The picture's a little darker. Um, there we go. So it's actually a cold shoulder top, interestingly enough, and then shorts, and then again a skirt that can go over it to make it look like a dress. I don't know if I'll quite go to that extent, but I do love the idea of separates. again, general wear as well as for the cruise. And these patterns, actually, this is the pattern right here. I can't remember if I've talked about this before, but I've used patterns like this before, a system called Lutterloh. It's German. Let's see. Do I have that book in? Uh, I don't know where it's gotten to right this second. But anyway, and then this is a French version that she transcribes and makes available on her website, mrsdepew.com. And I just think they're so neat because you use these little schematics, and then you anchor a special ruler. They look like these. Um, and there's one for each, like bust or hip measurement. Um, and then you use the markings on the ruler to plot out the points and basically enlarge the pattern to your size, whatever size you need. And it's a lot less printing than a traditional online pattern where you print all of the files and then you have to, or you print document and then you have to, you know, tape them all together and cut them out. Which I have nothing wrong with that. I have nothing against that, but it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work printing those out. Now those, if you have a projector, you can project them. Fiddle with your settings to make sure they're scaled correctly. But if you can get that set, then I mean that's a way to avoid all the paper waste and only tracing out the pattern pieces that you want kind of or need kind of thing. And I do like those patterns. I love the ones that I've purchased. I've used like the sports bra pattern that I bought from Made for Mermaids, the Danny pattern. I use quite a bit. Um, and they're great patterns. But I love the idea of being able to make this in any size. It's like I could make matching ones for me and my monkey that travels with me, my little stuffed monkey. I could make her matching outfits if I wanted to. You could make things, in theory, you could make them doll size and human sized for children and stuff like that too, because they are scalable. Um, so it's less printing, but I still did need to print it, and this is where the creative problem solving comes in. So a few weeks ago, I was having problems with my printer, which is also my scanner. I might have mentioned this. Um, my scanner wouldn't talk to my computer, even though I had the USB cable connected and all the stuff was there. And I went round and round, did all the things, but the scanner was not talking. The printer was fine at the time. At the time, a few weeks later, I go to finally print these out. Now you see that I have them printed, and yes, they're on purple paper. That's just what was in the machine. I'm not very. It doesn't matter. I can work with that. Um, But the printer would not talk to my computer this time. No matter what I did, uninstalled, reinstalled, restarted both machines, ran the troubleshooters, checked for driver updates, all the things. And I finally got it. Well, it could see it, but it was offline. I'm like, "Ah." So to get it to go from offline to online, restart, do the things, and then suddenly it was telling me that nope, can't. The printer is not on. That's what the troubleshooter was telling me, and I'm like, I am looking at it. It is on. So I was very frustrated, and I'm like, I really don't want to have to like send these to Staples, or well, we don't have Staples here, but Office Depot or the or the UPS place to print them. I'm like, I don't want to have that. I have a printer here. I should be able to do this. And that's when I had a brainstorm. The same thumb drive that I ended up having to use and direct to, and then move to the computer and be able to read the images that I'd needed scanned. I made it work the other way. And it took some finagling because there were a few settings that had to change, and it doesn't like all of the exported files. But for the most part, oh, great. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah. But for the most part, I was able to um, find a workaround so that I could print the files I needed. Just had to move them from my computer to the memory stick to put it into the thing and use the display there. Except for one page. Whatever reason, the first page of these printable rulers, which are done by centimeter sizes. So there's a bunch of pages. I just needed like 6 pages printed to print the set of rulers that I need for my particular measurements. Um, the first page would not print. Enter more creative problem solving. Um, so what I ended up doing was using my tablet or using my pen display. I set the view actual size for the PDF, and I got tracing paper out and basically used my graphics display as a light box so that I could trace out the measurements for the first part, and then I covered then I put masking tape along the back of the tracing paper, packing tape along the front, and then assembled and cut out per usual. um yeah, it's been more than one way to do anything, basically. But this worked. Now I have my rulers printed out. I can start to transcribe and test fit these patterns. The cruise isn't until November. Granted, I'm going to be in Arizona for like 2.5 weeks next month. So I want to get a jump on them, and but yeah, so I will be working on sewing, like hopefully wearable mock-ups of these. Um, because it's always, especially when you're doing something like this, it's good to test the pattern um, before you cut into the good fabric. And like for the April dress, I had to do a full bust adjustment to make the fitting correct, and so I'm gonna have to test that bodice, see if I did it correctly, because I had to look up a few tutorials to make sure I was doing it right. I've seen it done. This is the first time I'm doing it in practice, and yeah, it is something else, folks. It is something else. But yeah, there's been a lot of creative problem solving going on, and I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Why would I be? um it's kind of what I excel at. Sometimes I just need to like distance. Like, I figured out that I could transfer the files through the thumb drive while talking through the issue or describing the problem to Todd at dinner last night, and I'm like, oh, wait, I think I just figured out what I can do. um and yes, it worked. Granted, I had to get in there and monkey with some systems, but it's all good. It worked. Um, but yeah, so whatever you've got going on this week, I hope you're healthy. I hope you have the roof over your head, um, and food to eat, and that you're safe. Once those needs are met, perhaps look at some of the problems, barriers, or impasses that you've got around you, and think about if there's a creative way to solve that problem. Now, sometimes there isn't, and sometimes you just kind of like that whole Fisher cut bait kind of thing. Um, but oftentimes there's ways around a lot of the things that are in our way. Now, yes, this was all what some would say frivolous creative stuff. But you know, what might seem frivolous to one person is important to another. In this case, being able to do this stuff, yes, it's important for me because this is my life now. It's also important for me because this is how I keep my mental health going well. These are the things that keep me more even keel than not, along with therapy and, recommended coping mechanisms and prescribed medications. Um, but yeah, problem solving involves creativity. So whether it's coming up with solutions at work, in the home, um, with friends or family, that's creativity, folks. And I want you to give yourself credit for however the creativity, however the problem solving comes about. Give yourself some credit for that. Anyway, I will hopefully be back as, per usual next week with some more updates of what I've gotten up to in the coming week. We're gonna get like a touch like the bears tend to fall and then it's gonna go away again, I'm sure. Um, it's Labor Day weekend, so I know a lot of people are relaxing. Maybe you're doing one last bit of vacation for the long weekend before settling into the no longer summer in theory mindset. I am looking forward to fall. Y'all know me. I'm not really a summer girly. I am fall, autumn, all that is my preferred time of year. Um, so yeah, I wish you well. I wish you creative solutions to your problems. And I'll see you next week. Until then, bye bye.